Start speaking English with confidence. Every day is a chance to practice, from small conversations to bigger talks. It's not about being perfect. It's about speaking and learning step by step. Get ready to see your progress. You wake up to the sound of your alarm. It's 7 a.m. and the world outside looks peaceful. You roll over, grab your phone, and think, I could sleep for just 10 more minutes. But then you stop. Today is different. You made a promise to yourself. Today, you will start speaking English. You take a deep breath and get out of bed. The first step is always the hardest, right? But you do it. You're ready to try something new. It's not just about getting out of bed. It's about challenging yourself to speak English today. Even if it's just for a few minutes, it's a start. Every step counts. You walk to the bathroom. The mirror looks back at you, and you say to yourself, "Good morning. Today is going to be a good day." It feels strange at first. You might feel a bit silly talking to yourself in English, but that's okay. Practice makes perfect. And in that moment, you know you're doing something great. While you wash your face, you think of other simple sentences you can say in English. Let's get ready for the day. I'm excited to practice English today. It feels a little more natural with each sentence. You're training your brain to switch to English, and your mouth is starting to cooperate. Now, you head to the kitchen to make breakfast. The smell of fresh coffee fills the air. You smile, thinking about how small victories are the foundation of bigger wins. You prepare your breakfast. You tell yourself, I'm making toast. This is easy. You say the sentence out loud. Again, it feels weird at first, but you remind yourself, I'm learning. This is how I'll get better. As you sit down to eat, you decide to take a moment to appreciate the day ahead. You close your eyes for a second and think, today, I will speak more English. You feel proud of yourself for saying that. The next step is even more important. You're going to speak English out loud in front of other people. Even if it's just for a few minutes, this is where the magic happens. You decide that when you go to work, you'll greet your colleagues in English. You've been practicing in front of the mirror. Now it's time to try it in real life. Before you leave the house, you look in the mirror again and say, I'm ready to go. You give yourself a little smile. You've got this. Today is going to be a day full of learning and growth. As you step out of the door and into the world, you know that speaking English is not just something you can do. It's something you will do. Today is the beginning of a new chapter in your life. You're on the bus now, heading to work. The weather is calm, and people around you are busy with their own thoughts. You could check your phone or just listen to music, but today, you're determined to practice your English. After all, every moment is a chance to improve. As you settle into your seat, you notice the woman sitting next to you. She's reading a book, but she looks up and smiles. You smile back, but this time, you don't just nod. You're going to start a conversation. A simple one, but it's a step towards speaking more confidently in English. Hi, you say, your voice a little shaky. How are you today? She looks surprised but quickly replies, I'm good. Thank you. How about you? You pause for a moment. You weren't expecting to start the conversation so soon, but you remember your goal. You can do this. I'm good. Thanks, you say with a smile, feeling a little more confident. The bus starts to get more crowded as you both continue talking. It's a simple conversation, but it feels important. Do you take this bus every day? She asks. You nod. Yes, I do. I work near the city center. That's great, she says. What do you do? Now, Here's where you have to think quickly. What do you say? You don't want to sound too formal, but you also don't want to sound too casual. You decide to keep it simple. I work in marketing, you say? I help businesses reach more customers. Oh, that sounds interesting, she responds. I work as a teacher. You smile. That's great. What kind of teacher are you? I teach English to kids, she says. It's very rewarding, but also challenging. You both laugh, and the conversation flows easily. You don't feel nervous anymore. You're just talking. Even though it's in English, it feels natural. You're not worrying about your grammar or the mistakes you might make. You're just connecting with another person. As the bus continues its journey, you realize that speaking English isn't so hard after all. It's just about taking that first step, starting with small conversations, and not being afraid to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying. When you reach your stop, you turn to her and say, "It was nice talking to you. Good luck with your class." "Thanks. Have a great day at work." She replies, and you both smile. As you step off the bus, you feel a wave of accomplishment. It wasn't a long conversation, but it was an important one. You spoke English, and that's what matters. Today, you've taken another step forward on your journey to fluency. And the best part? It wasn't scary. It was fun. You arrive at work, still feeling the excitement from your English conversation on the bus. It wasn't perfect, but it was a real conversation. A small victory that boosts your confidence. You enter the office, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that today is another chance to practice. As you walk to your desk, you greet your colleagues. "Good morning," you say, making eye contact and smiling. They respond with their own greetings, but this time, you don't just say hello or good morning. You add a little more. "How are you today?" You ask Sarah, a colleague who sits near you. She smiles. "I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?" "I'm good, ready to start the day." You reply, feeling a sense of pride. You're using English naturally. It's not forced, and it's not difficult. It feels like a normal part of your day now. Later in the morning, your boss, Thomas, calls you into his office for a quick meeting. As you walk into his office, he looks at you with a friendly smile and says, "Morning, how are you?" You pause for a second, but then you remember, this is your moment. "I'm doing well. Thanks for asking." You reply confidently. Thomas nods and starts discussing the project you're working on. You're listening carefully, but part of your mind is also thinking about how you're responding. You make sure to ask questions in English, too. "Can you explain the next step of the project?" you ask. "I want to make sure I understand the plan." Thomas explains, and you take notes in English. You're practicing your vocabulary and listening skills, even if it's not something you're studying directly. It's real-world practice, and it's making a difference. The meeting continues, and you feel good about the way you're handling it. You're understanding everything, and you're speaking English with ease. Your brain is switching from your native language to English without you even thinking about it. This is the result of all the small conversations, the practice in the morning, and the effort you've been putting in. When the meeting ends, Thomas says, "Nice work, keep it up." You smile and say, "Thanks, I'm excited to get started on the next part of the project." You didn't hesitate. It was a smooth interaction. As you walk back to your desk, you reflect on the morning. You've spoken more English than ever before, not just in casual situations, but also at work with your boss. And it didn't feel forced or uncomfortable. You're moving closer to fluency. Throughout the day, you keep looking for opportunities to speak English. During your lunch break, you chat with your colleagues about your weekend plans. I'm thinking of going to the beach this weekend, you tell John. It's going to be sunny, so I'll enjoy the good weather. By the end of the day, you've had multiple small conversations in English, and you've never once felt worried about making mistakes. Each sentence you speak brings you one step closer to fluency. As you leave the office, you can't help but feel proud. You've taken the chance to practice English all day, and now it's starting to feel more like a part of who you are. You're not just learning English, you're living it. It's lunchtime, and you're sitting in the break room with your colleagues. You could eat quietly, scrolling through your phone, but today you've decided to speak English again. You feel a little nervous at first, but you know that this is the best way to improve. As you sit down with your sandwich, you look around the room. John, Sarah, and Mark are talking about their plans for the weekend. You take a deep breath and decide to join in. Hey, what are you guys doing this weekend? You ask, trying to sound casual. Mark looks up and grins. I'm going to visit my parents. I haven't seen them in a while. Sarah nods. I'm going to a concert. It's my favorite band playing, so I'm really excited. You smile and say, that sounds amazing. I'm thinking of going hiking. I love being outside and exploring new places. John looks at you and says, hiking, huh? That's a good idea. Where do you plan to go? You start to explain. There's a nice trail just outside the city. It's about 2 hours by car. It's peaceful, and I can relax and enjoy nature. As you speak, you realize that you're not worrying about grammar or perfect pronunciation. You're just sharing your plans, and that's what matters. You've trained your brain to focus on the message, not the small details. Mark nods and says, that sounds great. I should try hiking sometime. You definitely should, you reply. It's a great way to get away from the city and clear your mind. After a few minutes, the conversation turns to the weather. It's been so hot lately, Sarah says. You join in. Yes, it's been really warm. I'm looking forward to some cooler days. John laughs. Well, enjoy your hiking while you can. The weather is perfect for it. You continue chatting about various things, and before you know it, you've been talking for 20 minutes. The conversation feels natural, and you realize that you've been speaking English without even thinking about it. You've done more talking in English today than ever before, and it's starting to feel like second nature. As you finish your lunch, you feel a sense of pride. It's not just that you've been speaking English. It's that you've been doing it without fear. You no longer hesitate when it's time to speak. You just do it. You're no longer afraid of making mistakes. In fact, you've learned that mistakes are part of the process. Every time you speak, you learn something new, and every conversation brings you closer to fluency. Before you leave the break room, you turn to your colleagues and say, it was great talking with you guys. I'll see you later. See you. They reply, and you walk back to your desk, feeling a little lighter and a little more confident. Today, you've taken another important step. You've learned that speaking English doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen. And you're going to keep making it happen. The afternoon has arrived, and your heart is beating a little faster. You've been given a task that feels like a big challenge. Your first presentation in English. You're excited but nervous. This is your moment to show everyone how much you've learned. It's time to step up. You've spent the last hour preparing your slides, reviewing your notes, and practicing the key phrases you'll need. You remind yourself that it's not about being perfect. It's about sharing your ideas clearly, even if there are a few mistakes along the way. You've got this. As you walk into the meeting room, you see your colleagues sitting around the table, all looking at you expectantly. For a moment, your nerves get the best of you, but you quickly shake it off. This is what you've been preparing for. You take a deep breath and begin. Good afternoon, everyone. You start, your voice a little shaky but confident. Today, I'll be talking about our new marketing campaign and the strategy for next quarter. You look at your slides, but you don't hide behind them. You make eye contact with your audience and speak clearly. As you go through the presentation, you find that the words come more easily than you expected. You might stumble a little on a few phrases, but it's okay. Your colleagues nod, and some even smile. It feels reassuring. They're listening to your ideas, not your mistakes. That's the goal. There are three main goals we're focusing on this quarter. You continue. First, we want to increase engagement with our social media posts. Second, we will focus on creating more video content. And third, we plan to partner with influencers to boost our brand visibility. You see that everyone is following along. They understand your points, even if you don't have perfect grammar. You've learned something important today. Communication is about clarity, not perfection. Halfway through the presentation, you notice a slight change. You're no longer just reading from your slides. You're talking. You're explaining your ideas confidently in English. The nerves are still there, but they don't control you anymore. You've trained your brain to keep going, even when you're unsure. You look around the room and see your manager, Thomas, nodding in approval. When you reach the end of your presentation, you take a moment to breathe, then smile and say, "That's all for my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions." Thomas raises his hand and asks a question about the budget, but instead of panicking, you respond calmly. You explain your point in English, and by the end of the meeting, you've answered all the questions clearly. You did it. Not perfectly, but you did it. As the meeting ends, your colleagues clap, and you feel a rush of relief and pride. "Great job," Sarah says. "Your English has really improved." You smile and thank her. Inside, you're smiling even bigger because you know this is just the beginning. The walk back to your desk feels lighter. You've just completed your first presentation in English, and it wasn't as scary as you thought. It was actually enjoyable. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You spoke confidently, shared your ideas, and got through it. You sit down at your desk and feel a wave of accomplishment. Today, you've stepped out of your comfort zone, and it's paid off. Your English is better, and so is your confidence. Now, you look forward to the next challenge. You know that every time you speak English, you're improving. You've learned that it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, doing the work, and speaking. The morning is winding down, and you decide to take a short break. You need some fresh air and a coffee to help you recharge. You walk to the break room and find a few colleagues gathered around, chatting casually. You smile and decide to join in. "Hey, everyone," you say, your voice clear and friendly. "What's going on?" John looks up and grins. "Not much. Just trying to wake up after that meeting. How's your day going?" You take a sip of your coffee and think for a moment. It's easy to say, "I'm good," but you want to practice speaking more naturally. "It's going great, actually," you reply. "I've had a few meetings, and now just taking a little break." Sarah nods. "Same here. I'm already looking forward to the weekend. What are you doing this weekend? You ask casually. You know this is an easy topic to talk about in English. Everyone loves talking about their plans. I'm going to visit my family, Sarah says. It's been a while, so I'm excited to catch up. That sounds lovely, you say with a smile. I think I'll just relax this weekend. Maybe go for a walk in the park, enjoy the fresh air. Mark, who has been quiet until now, chimes in. That sounds nice. I could use some fresh air too. I'm planning to go to the movies with some friends. Nice. What movie are you watching? You ask, interested. You love hearing about new films. Something funny, Mark says. It's been a while since I watched a comedy, so I'm looking forward to it. I think we all need a good laugh, you reply, smiling. The conversation feels easy. You're not worried about making mistakes anymore. You're talking, and that's what matters. The conversation shifts again, and now Sarah is asking about a new restaurant that opened in town. Have you guys been there yet? She asks. I heard the food is amazing. You nod, eager to contribute. I've heard about it. I've been meaning to check it out this weekend. I'm hoping to try their pasta. I've heard it's the best in town. Everyone laughs and agrees that trying new places is always exciting. The conversation flows easily, with everyone adding their thoughts and experiences. You're having a real, casual conversation in English. It's not about impressing anyone. It's just about connecting. After a few more minutes of chatting, you finish your coffee and decide it's time to get back to work. As you stand up, you say, well, it was nice catching up with all of you. I'll see you later. See you later, they all respond, and you head back to your desk, feeling proud of yourself. You've just had a meaningful conversation in English, and it didn't feel difficult at all. As you sit down and open your computer, you think about how far you've come. A few weeks ago, you would have felt nervous speaking to your colleagues, but today, it feels completely natural. You're learning English every day, not just from books, but from real conversations. In the end, it's not about how perfect your English is. It's about how comfortable you feel using it. And today, you feel great. The afternoon is here, and you're sitting in your office, reviewing some reports. It's a busy day, and you know there's a meeting coming up soon. It's an important one, and this time, you're expected to contribute. You feel a little nervous, but you remind yourself that this is exactly the kind of situation you've been working towards. You look at your notes and prepare a few key points in English. You've practiced these phrases earlier, and now it's time to use them in the real world. No more waiting. It's time to speak up. The meeting begins. Everyone is seated around the table, and you're ready. You start by introducing your topic. I'd like to discuss the latest sales report, you say confidently. Even though your heart is racing a little, you stand tall and make eye contact with your colleagues. As the discussion moves forward, your boss, Thomas, asks you a question. It's a topic you've already prepared for, but it's still a little intimidating. Can you explain the trends we're seeing in the data? He asks. You take a deep breath, and without hesitation, you respond. Sure, Thomas. As you can see from the graph, sales have increased by 10% this month, mainly due to the new campaign we launched last month. However, we've also noticed a drop in our customer satisfaction scores. You feel the words coming out easily, and you're not worried about making mistakes. You've practiced saying these sentences, and now they're part of your vocabulary. The more you speak, the more confident you become. Thomas nods. That's a good observation. What do you think we should do next to address the customer feedback? You continue. I think we should focus on improving our customer service. We could start by training our team to better handle customer complaints and offer more personalized solutions. Also, we can send out a survey to gather more detailed feedback. Everyone in the meeting listens carefully. They appreciate your input, and even though it's not perfect, they value what you're saying. You realize that it doesn't matter if your grammar is flawless. What matters is that you're contributing and that your ideas are being heard. The conversation continues, and you find yourself participating more. You ask questions, offer suggestions, and share your thoughts, all in English. Each time you speak, it gets easier. And with each conversation, you're growing stronger. By the end of the meeting, you feel a sense of accomplishment. You didn't just survive, you thrived. Your confidence is growing with every word you speak. The people in the room are no longer just colleagues. They're part of your journey. You've learned that speaking in English isn't about being perfect. It's about being confident, clear, and willing to make mistakes. As the meeting wraps up, Thomas looks at you and says, "Great points today. Keep it up." You smile, proud of yourself. You've just spoken in front of your colleagues, and it wasn't scary at all. You sit back at your desk and reflect. You've come so far since you first started practicing English. You've spoken in meetings, shared your ideas, and contributed to discussions. And you did it in English. You're not the same person you were when you first started this journey. You've grown, and you'll keep growing. The afternoon is drawing to a close, and you receive a phone call from a client. You've been preparing for this conversation for a while, and you're ready. It's time to put all that practice into action. "Hello, this is your name from your company," you say, answering the phone with a smile. You've learned that speaking with a smile makes you sound more confident, even on the phone. The client responds in a friendly tone. "Hi, I'm calling about the project we discussed last week. Do you have an update for me?" You feel a slight flutter in your stomach, but you remind yourself that you've done this before. "Yes, absolutely. I've reviewed the proposal, and we're on track to meet the deadlines we set. We're just waiting on a few final approvals before we can move forward." The conversation feels natural. You pause briefly to gather your thoughts, but you don't panic. "I'll send you an email with the latest details after this call." You continue, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. The client thanks you, and you finish the conversation with, "It was great speaking with you. I'll follow up by the end of the day." After hanging up, you take a moment to breathe. That wasn't so bad. In fact, it went better than expected. You didn't make any big mistakes, and you felt comfortable handling the call. Your heart is still racing, but now you know you're ready for more of these conversations. You sit at your desk and smile. It wasn't a perfect conversation, but it was an important one. You used English to communicate effectively, and that's what matters most. With every phone call, every email, every conversation, you're getting closer to fluency. It's finally the end of the workday, and you've been invited to a social event with your colleagues. It's a casual get-together at a local cafe, and while you're looking forward to relaxing, you know this will be another opportunity to practice your English. You arrive at the cafe, and there are a few familiar faces already there. Sarah waves at you from the corner, and you make your way over. "Hey, how's it going?" She greets you with a smile. "I'm doing well, thanks. Just finished a busy day at work." You reply, feeling good about the simple conversation. You order a drink and join Sarah at the table. The group starts chatting about the week's events, and you decide to join in. What have you guys been up to this week? You ask casually. You want to practice asking questions and engaging with others. Mark, who's sitting next to Sarah, says, "Not much. Just work, work, and more work. But I'm looking forward to the weekend." You laugh. "Yeah, I feel the same. I'm planning to visit some friends and relax." The conversation continues to flow, and you find yourself adding more to it. You talk about your favorite activities outside of work and ask others about their hobbies. "I enjoy hiking. I love spending time outdoors," you say. "Do you guys like to do anything outside?" Sarah replies, "I enjoy running and going to the gym. I feel better after a good workout. I need to start working out more." You laugh, trying to keep the conversation light and fun. You're still practicing. You make mistakes, but they don't matter. The most important thing is that you're participating. Your colleagues seem to appreciate your effort, and they're encouraging. The conversation shifts to more personal topics, like traveling and movies, and you keep adding your thoughts. At one point, you mention a movie you watched recently. "Have you guys seen the new comedy? It was hilarious," you say, feeling more relaxed. Everyone starts sharing their thoughts on the film, and the discussion continues smoothly. By the end of the night, you realize how much you've spoken. You've engaged in a casual conversation in English for over an hour without feeling nervous. The more you speak, the more natural it feels. You don't mind making mistakes because the focus is on communication, not perfection. As you leave the cafe, you feel proud. You've used English outside of work in a social setting, and it didn't feel intimidating. In fact, it was enjoyable. You've realized that speaking English isn't just for the office. It's something you can use every day in any situation. The weekend is finally here. You've been looking forward to it all week, and now it's time to relax. But you also want to keep practicing your English, so you've decided to meet up with some friends for lunch. It's a perfect chance to speak English outside of work in a more relaxed setting. You meet your friends at a local restaurant. The weather is great, and the conversation starts naturally as soon as you sit down. "Hey, how are you guys?" you ask, smiling. "We're good, thanks. Just a little tired," says Emily, one of your friends. "How about you?" "I'm doing well," you reply. "It's been a busy week, but I'm glad it's the weekend." As you look at the menu, you realize this is the perfect opportunity to practice your ordering skills. You decide to practice speaking in English when the waiter arrives. "I'll have the chicken salad, please," you say confidently. Your friends smile, impressed with your use of English. The waiter goes away, and the conversation continues. You start talking about your plans for the day. "I'm thinking about going to the park later. I really need to get some fresh air," you say. "That sounds great. I was planning to go for a walk too," Emily says. "The weather is perfect for it." You continue chatting about your weekend plans. You ask your friends what they're doing, and they share their ideas. "I might go to a movie," says Jake. "I heard the new action film is really good." "Which movie?" you ask, interested in hearing more. "I haven't heard about it yet." Jake explains the movie plot, and you realize you're having a full conversation in English without thinking much about it. You're just talking, and it feels natural. As the lunch goes on, you find yourself speaking English more and more. You joke with your friends, share stories, and laugh together. This is fun, you think. It doesn't feel like you're practicing anymore. You're just having a good time. After lunch, You decide to take a walk in the park, and you keep talking in English. Even though the conversation isn't focused on learning, every moment is a chance to improve. You're speaking freely, using new vocabulary, and feeling more comfortable with your mistakes. As you walk, you realize that your confidence is growing. A few months ago, you would have been too nervous to speak English in such a casual setting. But now, it feels like a part of your everyday life. You're proud of how far you've come. You leave the park feeling happy. You didn't just enjoy your weekend. You also practiced English in a real, relaxed way. Every conversation, no matter how small, is a step towards fluency. It's been a busy week, and today, you're preparing for something that makes your heart race, a job interview. It's an important opportunity, and it's all in English. You've been practicing, reading through your CV, and preparing for common interview questions. But now, as the time approaches, you start to feel nervous. You sit in the waiting area, repeating to yourself, "I've prepared for this. I know I can do it." You remind yourself that this is just another chance to practice your English. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. What matters is that you try. Finally, your name is called. You stand up, take a deep breath, and walk into the interview room. There's a handshake, a brief smile, and the interviewer asks you to sit. "Good afternoon. How are you today?" She says. "I'm good. Thank you." You reply, feeling a bit shaky but managing to keep your voice steady. "And you?" "I'm well. Thank you for asking," she smiles. "Let's get started, shall we?" You nod, ready to dive in. She starts with the usual question, "Tell me a little about yourself." This is the moment where you have to introduce yourself, and you've already prepared a short introduction. "Well, I'm," your name, "and I've been working in marketing for the past 3 years. I have experience managing campaigns, analyzing customer data, and working with teams to improve brand strategies." The interviewer nods and says, "That's great. What do you think makes you a good fit for this role?" You pause for a moment and then answer confidently, "I believe my experience in digital marketing and my ability to work under pressure make me a strong candidate. I'm also passionate about learning and improving, especially in areas like communication and teamwork. I'm excited to bring my skills to your company." She smiles and writes something down. "That's very insightful," she says. "Tell me, how do you handle stressful situations at work?" This question is more challenging, but you don't let it throw you off. You think carefully and respond. "When I'm faced with stress, I stay calm and prioritize my tasks. I also make sure to communicate with my team so we can handle problems together. It's important to stay focused and not let the pressure affect the work." The interviewer seems impressed. The conversation continues, and you find yourself speaking more comfortably in English. Sure, there are a few moments where you hesitate, but it's okay. You're doing your best, and that's all that matters. After about 20 minutes, she looks at you and says, "I think that's all for now. Do you have any questions for me?" You take a deep breath, remembering to ask something thoughtful. "Yes, I do. Could you tell me more about the team I'd be working with and the projects I'd be involved in?" She explains the role in more detail, and you listen carefully, thinking about how you'll respond. The interview finishes, and you thank her for her time. "It was a pleasure speaking with you," you say. "Thank you for the opportunity." As you walk out of the room, you feel relieved. You did it. You spoke confidently in English, answered the questions, and handled the nerves. You might not have been perfect, but you gave your best. And that's what counts. You sit down, take a deep breath, and smile. Regardless of the outcome, you know that today you took another step toward improving your English and becoming more confident in your abilities. After a long week of work, you've decided to take a weekend trip to explore a new city. It's a chance to relax, recharge, and practice your English in a real-world setting. You've planned everything: the train tickets, the hotel, and the list of places you want to visit. You're excited, but also a little nervous because you'll have to use English with strangers. The train ride is comfortable, and you can't wait to get to your destination. Once you arrive, you head straight to your hotel. As you walk into the lobby, the receptionist greets you with a smile. "Hello, welcome to Hotel Name. How can I help you today?" You return the smile and respond confidently. "Hi, I have a reservation under the name, your name." The receptionist checks the computer and nods. "Yes, I see your reservation. Here's your key card. You're in room 305. If you need anything, just let us know." You take the key card and thank her. The exchange was short, but it was a good practice. You didn't feel nervous, and your English felt natural. After you drop off your luggage, you decide to explore the city. You visit a local museum and engage in a small conversation with a guide. "What time does the next tour start?" you ask. "The next tour is in 30 minutes, the guide replies. "Would you like to join?" You smile and say, "Yes, that sounds great. Thank you." During the tour, you listen to the guide's explanations, nodding in understanding. You can follow most of what they say, and you're proud of how much you've learned so far. At the end of the tour, you chat with some fellow travelers in English. You ask where they're from, share your thoughts on the museum exhibits, and discuss your travel experiences. In the evening, you visit a local restaurant. The waiter asks, "What can I get you today?" You look at the menu, making a decision. "I'll have the pasta with tomato sauce, please," you say clearly. "Would you like anything to drink?" the waiter asks. "A glass of water, please," you reply. The waiter smiles and heads off to get your order. The rest of the evening goes smoothly. You continue speaking English with the waiter, the people around you, and even while ordering dessert. By the time you finish your meal, you realize that speaking English in real-life situations is becoming easier. You're enjoying the process, not just learning, but living the language. You end your day with a quiet walk back to your hotel, thinking about how much you've accomplished. You spoke English with strangers, navigated a new city, and even made new friends. It feels great. Tomorrow, you'll do even more. The next day, you decide to visit a local grocery store to pick up some snacks and essentials for your trip. It's a routine activity, but it's also a great opportunity to practice your English in a casual setting. As you walk into the store, you grab a basket and start browsing the aisles. You notice that many of the labels are in English, so it's a good chance to learn some new vocabulary. You pick up a jar of jam and read the label, "Strawberry jam, made with 100% fruit." You smile, feeling proud that you understand it without needing a translation. While you're looking for some chips, you notice the store employee stocking the shelves nearby. You walk up and ask politely, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the chips are?" The employee looks up and points. "They're right over there, in aisle 5, he says with a smile. "Thank you," you reply, walking toward the aisle. As you continue shopping, you start a small conversation with the cashier while waiting in line. "How's your day going?" you ask, making small talk. It's not a long conversation, but it's a chance to practice. Good, thank you. Just busy with work today, the cashier replies. How about you? I'm doing well. Just visiting the city for the weekend. You respond, feeling more comfortable with each word. The cashier rings up your items, and you practice another phrase. How much is it, please? That'll be $12.50, she says. You hand her the money and smile. Thanks. As you leave the store, you realize that you've used English in several everyday situations. You've asked for help, made small talk, and even read product labels. It wasn't a big deal, but it's a reminder that English is all around you, and you can practice it anywhere. Today, you've learned that using English in the grocery store isn't about perfection. It's about communication. Every time you speak, even in simple situations, you're becoming more fluent and more confident. After a busy day of exploring the city, you decide to wind down by watching a movie. It's a great opportunity to practice listening to English, especially since you've been hearing the language all day. You pick a comedy film you've been wanting to see for a while. It's in English, but you're not worried. This is another way to immerse yourself in the language. You start the movie, and at first, the fast pace of the dialogue feels a bit challenging. Some jokes go over your head, and you don't catch every word. But you remind yourself that this is part of the learning process. The more you listen, the easier it will get. You've seen this kind of movie before, so you know the story will help you guess the meaning of unfamiliar words. After a few minutes, you start noticing that you're understanding more. The characters speak clearly, and even though some of the humor is tricky, you can follow the general plot. You laugh at the funny parts, even if you don't understand every joke. You're starting to enjoy the movie on a deeper level because you're catching more than you thought you would. Halfway through, you pause the movie to rewind a scene. There's a word you didn't understand, so you look it up. The word is awkward. You learn that it means uncomfortable or strange. This is a perfect example of how watching movies in English helps expand your vocabulary without even trying. You don't just learn the word, you also hear it used in context, which makes it easier to remember. As the movie continues, you decide to try something new. You turn on the subtitles in English. At first, you feel like this might be too much, but you quickly realize it's a helpful tool. The subtitles help you connect the spoken words with their written forms, making it easier to understand the dialogue and learn new expressions. By the end of the movie, you feel satisfied. Not only did you enjoy a great film, but you also practiced your English. The most rewarding part is realizing how much you understood. You didn't just read or write. You listened and absorbed the language in a real, relaxed way. You take a deep breath and smile. Another day of practicing English, and you didn't even have to leave the comfort of your hotel room. Watching movies in English is an easy and enjoyable way to keep improving. It's the last day of your weekend trip, and you find a quiet spot in a local park to reflect on your journey. You've spent the past few days speaking English in various situations, from ordering food to participating in meetings, and even enjoying casual conversations. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and think about how far you've come. A few months ago, you would have never imagined speaking so confidently in English. You remember feeling nervous about making mistakes, but now it feels natural. You've used English in real-life situations, in meetings with colleagues, while traveling, at the grocery store, and even with strangers. Every time you spoke, it got easier. Every conversation helped you improve. You think back to the first conversation you had in English during your trip. It felt awkward at first, but today, you've had so many conversations that it doesn't feel like practice anymore. It's just part of who you are. You've become someone who can speak English confidently, even if it's not always perfect. And that's the point. It doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. You pull out your notebook and write down a few thoughts. I've improved my English by practicing every day. I've learned that it's okay to make mistakes because they help me grow. I've learned that speaking is the key to fluency, and I've built confidence by using English in everyday situations. You also reflect on the moments when you felt unsure of yourself. You remember feeling nervous before your first job interview, but now you realize that you handled it well. You spoke confidently, answered questions, and didn't let your nerves take over. It wasn't perfect, but that didn't matter. What mattered was that you were able to communicate. As you sit there in the park, you feel proud of yourself. You've put in the work, and it's paying off. The key to mastering any language is consistent practice. You've made English a part of your daily life, and now it feels like second nature. The more you speak, the more confident you become, and the better you feel about your skills. You finish your reflection and look around. The park is peaceful, and everything seems to have fallen into place. You've learned that fluency isn't just about knowing the right words or grammar. It's about having the courage to speak and the willingness to keep learning. As you get up to leave, you smile. Today, tomorrow, and in the future, you'll keep improving your English. There's no limit to what you can achieve. And with each new conversation, you'll keep moving forward.